Hi everybody, I'm Tim from ChawedandFeathered.com, and we are welcoming back a special guest tire, Mr. Chuck Furimsky. Chuck, welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Which fly are you sharing with our audience today?
This fly is called the Bugskin Shinetail. It's a minnow imitation.
Oh, we love those ones. You're going to love this fly, I promise. Stay tuned. Okay, Chuck, why don't you take us through the steps to tie the Bugskin Shinetail?
Okay, what I'm using is the category in the bugskin. You know, I have of different levels, the naturals, pearlized. These are the shiniest sections are the flash naturals. Yeah. This is a silver. This is a wild natural. It's called disco fish scale. So
it looks like the side.
I like that one. I had this design myself, and I had the girl that does the melting of the shine materials into the leather for me. Yeah. She had these little tiny disco bubbles, and I said, man, they look like fish scale. So
I hope the camera's picking it up because it looks
it's
awesome.
pretty wild.
It looks really cool.
Yeah, so I'm going to use this one. I have silver, I have gold, I have blue, I have pink. A lavender's really nice because a lot of baitfish have a subtle lavender side to them. But anyway, I like the disco fish scale because we're going to do actually a little bit larger flash tail so you can see it good with the camera. Okay. So I can cut this, but I'll just throw this aside. I've done...
Before you cut it, can you tell me, because this looks different than your normal bugskin, is this one glued together?
Yeah, oh yeah, I glued it together so it shines on both sides.
Okay.
When a minnow swims by, I was joking with someone, I said, I tied one with the material that's shiny and then the other side is sweat. I said, now when you cast this to the fish, make sure you cast it so the shiny side, so he only sees the shiny side, because if he sees the dull side, he won't eat it. And the guy said, oh, okay. I was only kidding.
Like
anyway, I've cut a lot of these, so I'm going to go pretty fast. And if you want to save pieces that you don't like that you cut, you could practice on an index card and get a shape that you want and then use it as a pattern. Okay. That's half the minnow right there. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then what I do is I put a little, and I'll show you this in a second, I put a little point on the front of it, and I'll show that to you as soon as I get done cutting it, because I use that to tie off on the hook with the thread. You have to have something. Okay, there's the shape.
Yeah, go down just a little bit.
There's the shape of the minnow. And the only thing that I do now is 1 second here, and I'll have the tail done, and then we'll have it finished. Bingo. There's the tail, and that's the body that I'm going to use.
Perfect. Okay, let's continue on.
I didn't mention the type of glue that I use because someone might be concerned about that. I don't use the glue that dries like in a few seconds. This is so nice because it has a spatula in it, and you can slide the contact cement right over the suede and finish it. You put it on both sides and you let it dry so it's pretty tacky. And then you just take them and stick them together, and it's good.
So basically,
it's a contact cement. It's Wellwood, and it's DAP, D-A-P.
Perfect. And you just put on the suede side, glue it.
Both sides,
yeah. Side, and then...
Now there is a spray that I used last week that I had in my cupboard. It's a Crafts suede that you shoot in a aerosol can. Okay. But I read the directions, which normally, as a man, I read no directions. I just do it and wonder why it didn't work, and then I throw it away and claim that it's a bad product. What it says you spray one side and you just let it get a little bit tacky, and then you take your other piece and put it on that wet part, and that's how. And I think
that's similar to this glue as well. I think this one will say, wait till it gets tacky, and that's when you...
Even if you wait a little longer, it's still going to glue together. But you know, you might not get it perfect, and what you'll do is you'll have like a little tiny, maybe you can see that there's a little edge of suede. All you do is take your scissors and trim it off. But anyway, there's a couple different sizes. This is the easy body. Bill Murphy's the supplier. He's in Rhode Island, Cumberland, Rhode Island. He calls it Murphy's Fly Box.
Yeah.
Anyway, he has pearl, he has chartreuse, peacock, and black. I like the pearl. And this is the large size. This is the small size. Of course, there's a medium.
Can you turn the large one so we can see the front of the package?
This is the large one.
Yeah. Okay.
And this is the small. And the medium, of course, is right in the middle. But I made the large because I wanted you to see the fly. I'm going to take it out. And there's a thread that goes through it. And I try to flatten it a little bit because the baitfish is going to be more flat than oval, than circular. I don't know if you can see the thread, but I try to put it right in the middle. And now I'm going to take my insert and I'm going to put it in the tubing. Okay, how am I going to get it in there? It's like a Chinese puzzle. Anybody from around here that goes to Kennywood Park would remember what you spend $50 and you get a $2 Chinese puzzle. So I take my bodkin and I go right through the tubing, and it goes right into the bugskin. And look at it. See, I just
slid right in.
I just feed it right up there. So it's in there. And if you hold it up to the light, you can see right there where the point is. And I don't want to waste a lot of it, so I cut it right off. Jeez. And so now it's inserted. Now I have a little bit of, it's a little long back here. So you know what? I'm gonna actually cut it right now so I don't have to cut it later when I'm tying. I want to tie it off, and I want to leave a little bit of the tail. I don't want to cover it with the tubing.
Okay.
So I'm going to move it up just a hair here. Okay, there, I have it that's about where I want it. Now I'm going to shorten it so I don't have to waste time doing it later. Bingo.
So what do you just think? You want just a little bit more of the tail sticking out of the tubing?
I want to tie it off here, and I want the natural tail to be flashy.
Okay.
I don't want it be hidden inside. The tubing is so shiny, it'll overwhelm the tail, but I want the tail to be there. So then, you know, the most ideal thing to do is to have the hook in the middle of the bugskin, but you can't, because once the hook is in there, you can't put the tubing over it. I want to shorten this a little bit more.
Okay.
Where is it? Oh, there it is. So this is a Gamakatsu. I think it's an S something 15 saltwater hook. There's two ways to do it. You could open up a hole in the tubing and put the eye in and push it up.
Okay.
But I can do it just as fast by going in with the hook. And if you don't get it, and I'm going to get it in the right spot because I've done it a lot, but if you get it in the wrong spot, you just have to slide it back out and start over again.
Is this a barbed hook or barbless?
This is a barbed hook, but I could take the barb off. I should have punched it off. But that's about where I want it, because watch. When I get it out,
just a little bit.
Now see, it's in the perfect spot, because when I tie it off, that hook is going to be right down just perfectly.
Just a little bit. Let's see.
It's going to be coming right out of the bottom.
Oh yeah.
Now it's on one side of the insert, but you can't tell, and on the other side, the shiny bugskin covers up the shank of the hook. Okay. But there's no fish in the world that's going to say, "Oh, I see that hook." I don't know why they never see hooks.
It's going to be tough for us to pick up the hook even watching the video.
Oh yeah.
I'm sitting here.
But it's inside and it's perfect.
No, I can barely see.
And you see, it was much easier to go with the point in.
Yep.
But if you get it in the wrong spot, then you have to pull it down like this, and you have to pull the eye out and go back up again.
Okay.
But you'll get the hang of it. If you do it wrong, you just put the hook in again.
Sure.
So now it's ready to go into the vise, and we're going to finish the fly.
That sounds good to me. Okay, we've moved the hook into the vise, Chuck.
Yep.
What comes next?
Well, when I was cutting the shape of the minnow to put inside the tubing,
sure,
I had mentioned that I put a little bit of point on the front, which would have been the nose of the minnow. Here's just a piece of scrap that was cut out. But I put this little bit of a point on because you might be able to see it right here.
Yeah.
That's going to be tied right behind the eye of the hook. I want to tie that on because if I get a fish with a sharp teeth that maybe sticks into the tail, they could pull that back a little bit. I don't want, that's the only part that would come apart. But since it's going to be tied on, and then of course I'm going to put some UV epoxy on it later, but that's going to make it indestructible. So anyway, let's tie this on. What I do is I have the hook in the right place. It's coming out just perfectly. I'm going to slide all this back right like that so I can get my thread on. Now I use white thread mostly because then I can color the thread any color I want to match the baitfish color.
Are we talking something like a 3/0 thread?
This is, what is this? 220D. Oh, this is 3/0. Yeah, this is 3/0,
okay.
Exactly. I'm terrible with the different numbers.
There's so many threads out there. They're so confusing for everyone.
Yeah, I just whacked that off with.
So using the razor blade.
Yeah, but you know what? There's a little piece of fuzz on there that didn't get cut. There.
Okay.
Where is it? There. Not that that'll be on there for long.
No.
Okay, I'm going to move this up, not all the way to the eye, because I want to have an area where I could tie it into the tubing and grab the point. So now I'm going to slide that up. And what I'm going to do is grab it with my right, see I'm right behind the eye now, and the point is right there. And I'm going to grab this with my right hand. It's so much better when you do it this way. Just pinch it down, and then take your thread in your left hand and go over it real slow and grab everything around. Wait, did I grab it underneath? Yeah, I did. I didn't see it. Make sure you have everything. Just go over it once or twice like this, and then cinch it down a little bit. Pull it straight down and hold everything in your right hand because you don't want it to spin around. Give it another wrap. Cinch it down, and then check it out. See if you grabbed everything. Yeah, I grabbed mostly all of it. Now you can see the point of the bugskin sticking out, the leather. So now I'm going to go slowly, one wrap in front of the other, one wrap in front of the other. Maybe I'll overlap a little bit. Now you see it's starting to disappear. Sure. The point. There, it's tied down really good and tight. Now I'm going to go back towards the bend of the hook and go back towards the eye, or away from the eye, and then back forward. I'm just filling in and making the eye a little bit. And of course I'm going to fill this with epoxy or resin, the UV stuff. Now I'm going to stretch this out, and I'm going to put a half hitch on it. And then I could, you know what, you could do like another half hitch. You don't have to do a whip finish because I hold this and I pull it and it sinks into the thread inside the head. And then I'm going to coat that anyway with the UV stuff, and it's never going to come loose. If you want to put a half hitch, you can. Okay, now this is the only part that's a little more difficult with this fly. Once you have this grabbed on and wrapped in, you have to turn it around. And you want this in real tight. And this is the part that is a little difficult. But what you do is you take your thread, you leave a little bit off the front, and you lay it, you can't see it, but I'm laying it on the body, and I'm holding it between my index finger and my thumb. See, I have it held there. Now I'm going to go forward and I'm going to wrap. See what I'm doing? I'm wrapping over the loose, easy body, finishing off the tail.
How much tension do you have there?
You don't want to put a lot of tension on, because if you do, you're going to pull it right off. Okay. So you're just and the key is the left hand. You see how I'm holding that? Sure. I'm holding it straight out. I'm not letting it fall down, because then the wrap will come off. I'm holding it real tight, and I'm pulling it just enough to tighten it up. Now what I want to do is I want to leave a lot of thread out, because what I'm going to do next is I'm going to put the half hitch on, and you come right over the tail, and you have to be careful. This is the only hard part. You have to be careful that you grab the half hitch with your left hand. You see, I grabbed it now. See, there's
now you have it locked.
Now I'm going to pull it. See it disappearing? Now I'm still holding this real tight, because when I pull this and tighten it, it's locking in. If I didn't hold this tight, I'd pull this, boop, and all the thread would come off, and you go, oh man. Yep. now I hold it in my right hand, and now I'm going to do another half hitch.
Yeah, you can see.
See, I'm going to tighten it right in the front, not at the end of the tail, but right in the front there, and it locks into the other thread. So I just put 2 in, that's enough. Slice that off. I think I can slice this off by not seeing it. It's facing you. There. And what I might do, if I do a half a dozen of them, because then I'm going to color them. It's the last step to color them, and then put the epoxy or the UV stuff, whatever. You know, there's so much out there now. What are the names of it? There's the one that's the one that started in Texas.
Right yeah. There's a Loon, there's Solarez, there's a bunch of them. And
I have the one that has the bigger tubes and a nice light. It's a whole package deal. But I might just take some lacquer or Sally Hansen and just put it on the thread wraps and then just let it sit aside. But there's the shape.
Go down just a little bit right there.
Look at that. It's the shape of a body, exactly the way you want it. It's a little bit bigger than most of the minnows that I would use, but for saltwater, this is the perfect size.
That's it.
And if you close your eyes and you hold this and squeeze it, you wouldn't be able to tell whether you're holding a real minnow or a fake minnow, because you feel this easy body and you feel the scales. And it's exactly, and you can squeeze it and it gives a little bit. The body gives a little bit. It's not like it's a piece of foam or rubber. I mean, it just really feels like a baitfish. So let's give this some color and give it some life, put some eyes on it, and finish it off.
That sounds good. Okay, Chuck, let's move on to the last steps. This, to me, looked like it's something you could fish right now. But
you could.
Let's we'll talk about the finished product now.
All right. I have a lot of different markers, but the main ones I use are kind of bluish and green and brown, whatever. And I kind of started off with the lighter colors first and then blend them together. So what I'm going to do is, and I like the fatter heads on these. These Sharpies are really good. And there's Marks-A-Lot and Sharpies. So I'm going to put my finger and hold the hook, and I'm going over the tubing and also inside a little bit of the bugskin gets coloration too. So you can see how nice that comes out right away. This is a really nice shiny color, this green. But now I'm going to make a little bit of a darker color with a darker green. Just a little bit more. Is that good? Oh yeah, okay.
After you fish this for a while, will the color fade at all, or does it seem to
it only fades if you leave it in the sun for a long time.
Okay.
Of course, it's nothing to get the markers and go over it a little bit more. So now I like the blue. Really looks pretty. I'm going to put some blue on it. It darkens the back. I'm going to go over the thread too and make that dark. See, what I did is I just did the top half of the thread, because underneath the fish's mouth would be white. And I'm just going over the top half with the blue of the body. See, it's like a kind of a bluish.
Just to give it that nice color.
Yeah, Jewish. Yeah. Now, the only other thing I like to do, too, because a lot of these baitfish have a real brown back to them, I'll go over the very top, especially some of the saltwater baits. They have a brown back. Bunker, when I do bigger ones that look like bunker. The bay anchovy is definitely one that you probably would eliminate the blue and just do it green and brown. But the brown gives it a little bit of dark on the.
What's nice about this is, depending on whatever the local baitfish is.
Yeah,
in the water,
just get the baitfish and see what it is. And really, you know what? There's another thing that really works pretty neat, because you have this lateral line that I put right in the middle on the baitfish. It's that cloth line that they use when they weave weave it together. And if you just go over that line real lightly with your black marker, it sucks right in the cotton fabric.
Yeah.
Saying you can make a little lateral line on it.
Yeah. And I'm not sure if I was able to see that cloth line before. So that cloth inside is what.
Yeah, it's right woven in with there. And if you want to, if you don't like it, you can take it out. Okay. You can grab it at the end and pull it, and it'll slide out. You just have to. But it doesn't unravel.
You prefer to have that kind of in the center of.
I like to have it in the middle because if I want to make a little black lateral line, it kind of makes it look nice.
Yes, it does.
And now we have these eyes are just a hair big, but they're better being bigger than smaller. I like pearl eyes too, besides yellow. These were in my truck. Ooh, they're stuck on the plastic pretty good. Here it comes. Oh, you know what happened? I think I got the, oh yeah, I got the paper. I got enough eyes, I could waste it. I'll peel it off later. The paper stuck to the glue. Okay. Now you see the silver on it now, can you?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, just line that up. You know what I like to do? I like to put it close to the head, and then I like to push down with my bodkin. Talk about being particular. Yes. If I use my finger, it smudges the eye a little bit. Jeez, oh man, nothing would eat it if it had a smudged eyeball.
No.
Okay, this goes in the front, and I push it down with my bodkin. Okay, the only thing left to do, the fish, I got the eyes pretty symmetrical. Yeah, they're good. You could slide them a little bit with your fingernail. The only other thing left to do is to give it some life and give it some gills so it can breathe. And I'm using a Sharpie, but it has an ultra fine point.
Okay.
And what I do is I push right through the tubing. It goes right through, down inside to the actual bugskin on the body. It hits the tubing as it goes down, and then it colors the actual leather.
Oh,
see how cool it looks?
Oh, really nice. Yeah, that really shows up well.
I'll give credit. You know who did this that I saw a long time ago? And I said, oh, that is so cool. Bobby Popovics.
Okay.
He was coloring his big baitfish pattern. I think it was his, shoot, what's it called? The surf candies.
Yes, oh yeah.
Famous baitfish. But I always kid him. I said, Bobby, that surf candy, if you hit a fish, it's going to knock him out. When you hit him with my bugskin, he's going to eat it. You're going to kill him with that surf candy.
Love that one.
But the last thing to do is, kind of like with the surf candy, you're going to take the UV stuff and you're going to put it right on the top so it goes down onto the eyes. I didn't put any Sally Hansen on here because the UV. Then you want to go in the bottom. And then you want to smear it right around the edge of the eyes. So then when you flash it with the light to harden it, it hardens. And then you do a little bit on the thread back here too.
So you don't put it over the eyes, you just put it around the eyes?
I put it around the edge of the eyes. You can't put it over because it's so clear it shines right through. It doesn't have the oil from your hand smudging the eye. Okay. And then I make sure I put some back here on the thread. Now this was basically finished, and the only question that I didn't answer is some guys will say, well, boy, it's pretty stiff, it doesn't swim. Well, this isn't a jointed, because the guys are asking that now because there's so many people tying with the articulated streamers. But when I designed this, the stripers would come along, these massive schools of bait, and if it was dark, you could hear the popping noise or their tail. Their tail would splash through and injure the bait. And it would create a hole where there would be no bait. And then the baits start to move together again and close up the hole. But you'd see this empty hole, and that's your target. You take your shine tail and you throw it right in that hole, and then the next second, the striper turns around and he eats all the injured bait that are laying scattered in that hole. And this is laying there with the hook. It straightens it out, and he sees it and he gobbles it right up.
Perfect.
So
No, that looks
That's
perfect.
it.
This is beautiful. I can't wait to.
And it's really a pretty fly.
Oh, it's really nice. And it's not the trickiest. If I was looking at this and I didn't just see it tied, I would think, geez, this is really complicated. But you can see there's really nothing extremely complicated in that. There's some technique, obviously, but getting that tail lashed down is probably the trickiest part. It's not even that it's complicated. You just have to
you have to hold it and hold it tight.
Yeah.
And what I really like that's happening in the fishing world for the companies that make the hard baits. I don't fish that much with spinning rods anymore at all, really. But they have so many beautiful hard baits. And you think, how could we match something like that in fly tying? Well, this is it right here.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean, it holds its shape. You could do this in different kinds of hair or synthetic materials, but it's never going to stay the same. It's either going to collapse or stretch out or collapse, or, well, you like the breathing fashion, but I've never seen a minnow breathe like that.
No.
He stays like this in the same shape, and the hook is in the bottom, so it keeps it straight. Now, I did experiment, and I put the hook on the side of the minnow. So when it's injured, it falls down like a dead minnow sideways, and that works too. So anyway, try that,
stuff to think about.
and you can make this look like a Lake Erie shiner.
Yeah, just like.
Yeah, and
Well, you know what? Let's change the camera angle. I'll pick your brain about this a little bit more and about some of the other facets of this fly.
Okay, well, there it is. That's all there is to it. You need the ink pens to finish it off, and the epoxy, and you're ready to fish.
All right, so we just saw Chuck finish tying his Bugskin Shinetail. Really great looking fly. We're going to talk a little bit about that in a bit, but I want to share with you the location of this video. We're tying today at Seven Springs at the Sporting Clays Lodge, and you may have a little bit of a kind of an understanding of this building from some of the previous videos that I've shot with Chuck, but most importantly, the thing that I really wanted to mention is that this is the home of the Fly Tyers reunion. If you want to find out more about that, it's just an awesome event. I've been fortunate enough to tie there a couple times. We'll see how well I edit this video if Chuck invites me back again, but it's just an awesome experience. Just you invite a bunch of tyers who tie at the shows. Go ahead.
Since I'm running it, I invite myself. Because nobody invites me to their events.
Never.
They don't think I tie flies.
No.
So now I can showcase myself at my own show.
That's the one place where you can go and see Chuck tie. Now he has like $10 tickets to get into the private room.
Bakery.
Exactly.
You have to pick a number to watch me.
Well, if you're interested in checking that out, if you go to the International Fly Tying Symposium's Facebook page, all the posts about the Fly Tyers reunion get kind of housed there as well, so you can find out more information. It's located kind of south central Pennsylvania. Just a great event. Typically around April is when it goes down, but by all means check that out. And now let's swivel back to the Bugskin Shinetail that you just tied for us. Let's first talk about the design. Is there anything you can tell us just about how you came up with that? Any interesting stories along the way?
Well, when I first saw the tubing material used, it was Jack Gartside. He called it Corsair. And he claimed that he found somebody at a flea market in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam, that had this big roll of it. And he found out about it and he used it. But he always put flash inside the tubing, or marabou, or maybe some kind of feathers that he would slide in with a loop to pull in through the bugskin. Because the bugskin is just hollow tubing. Well, as you know, Jack's been gone for, I don't know, eight or nine, maybe 10 years. I don't know.
Yeah.
But a couple people finally found companies that wove this, mainly for the craft industry. And Bill Murphy, Captain Bill Murphy, has the product, and he calls it Easy Body.
Okay.
And that's what I've been using, because he has some woven things in it are flashier, some crystal flash. He even does black. So I use that all the time. But I didn't want to use the materials that Jack used, because when the fish bite it, they chew it off. It's the marabou or the hair.
Sure.
So then all you have is a tube with a hook in it. So I started to think, I could use my bugskin. And I wanted to make it flashy on both sides, because the bugskin only was finished on the surface.
On that one side, so now you have
with the suede side.
Yeah, okay.
So that's why I glue the suede and the suede together. Now I have flash on both sides.
Okay.
And I cut it any shape I want. I could have a 1.5-inch minnow that's only 1/4 inch thick, or I can make a 1/2-inch minnow or 3 inches long, anything you want. I just have to cut the bugskin into the shape that I want, and then the easy body comes in small, medium, large, and extra large. So I have every variable to put the fly together.
Okay, and I like that because I know a lot of viewers, they're always looking for variations of the fly. And this is one that you really have, it's almost like the sky's the limit in terms of size and color.
And of course the other thing is the color.
Yeah.
You can color it any way you want to when you get done. And I learned the coloring techniques from Jack. He always used the El Marcos, and they were, you know, waterproof, and he usually used green and blue.
Okay.
But I put a lot of brown on the back too, because some of the baitfish have brown backs where I fish.
Okay. Any good Gartside stories you want to share?
Oh God, how about if I just write a book about it? Well, Jack could get, first of all, he can get away with anything, no matter what he says. How unusual or strange it is. If you tried it, you'd get slapped or punched.
I'm sure.
Or I would. But he gets away with everything. And that's, you know, who else is like that is Theo Bakken.
Oh, yeah.
From Holland.
Theo, you're probably watching right now. You do get away with a lot.
So I'm at Martha's Vineyard. I went back this summer, and I hadn't gone for a couple summers, but when Jack came over on the ferry from Boston, I would meet him, and then he would fish with me for a couple days. So I'm waiting at the ferry, and there's hundreds of people coming off. All different people. There's movie stars and famous people, and then Gartside comes in a big crowd, and I knew it was him because he's the only one carrying a big black garbage bag full of fly tying. So he's dragging his garbage bag, and I'm like, "Hey Jack!" And he starts walking towards me, and he stops. And he stops in front of this lady that was decked out in the nicest clothes. Her hair was jewelry, and she's holding a little white fluffy dog. And I was close enough to hear Jack go over to her, and he started petting the dog. And I'm thinking, he doesn't know who this lady is. And she's looking at him, and she's holding the dog. Jack, oh, it's a lovely, lovely dog. I had one just like that when I was in China. It was delicious. I go, oh my God, how could he say that? The lady was horrified. And then she laughed because, oh, I'm only kidding. He can say that, and then they can laugh.
And he got away with it.
So then he walked over to me, and I said, Jack, I don't know how you did it, but you got away with it. Well, that's one story, and that's enough.
We won't tell a bunch of them, but that was a good one, that's for sure. Let's get back to the Shinetail. You talked about the colors that Jack had used, the blue and the green. Can I assume this is is it more of a saltwater fly? Is it freshwater? What's your...
Well, of course, Jack fishes saltwater. He doesn't fish a lot of freshwater. And he likes to be in saltwater on his feet. He doesn't like to fish boats. He goes with the boat once in a while that a dentist owns, and the dentist actually didn't drive it very well, and he would pay Jack to take him fishing. Okay. That's the only time he liked to fish in a boat. So we're standing in the sand, and all these bait fish are along the banks, and most of them have a little blue tint to them.
Okay.
So I use the blue bugskin that I have. I have Flash Naturals. That's mainly that category of bugskin that I use for the Shinetails, because I wanted something that flashed. Originally, I was going to call it Flash Tails. And I thought, wait a minute, Dan Blanton will kill me because he has a famous fly called Flash Tail. If you don't know Dan, he's in California, and everybody knows him, and his fly is excellent. Anyway, I made a blue fly, and I tested it at night at Martha's Vineyard at Lobsterville Beach. If anybody has ever fished there, the stripers come in at dusk, and you don't even need a fly line. All you need is an 8-foot leader. It's almost like you can fish 10 carp. And there was a huge school that came in, and everybody had left, and it was maybe midnight. And I started catching these stripers one after another, every cast. I mean, there were probably 8 out of 10 casts that I landed a fish. So I started timing it, and I would figure 3 fish every 5 minutes. And after a couple hours, I had 100 fish.
100 fish.
And I still had the same fly. It was only about 2 inches, and it had a blue back, and it was just like I tied and showed you.
Sure.
And I had no bluefish, because I wouldn't have had a fly if a bluefish were mixed in. They would have bitten it off, and the leader would have been gone. But that's the only time I ever, in my own personal mind, got competitive. I said, I could catch 100 fish tonight. And there was nobody there. to authorize. I could have told him 1,000 fish. I might have caught 200.
No, but it's not, for some of us, it's not always a numbers game, but every now and then you just have that, that drive.
The fish were all the same size, 18 to 20 inches. And that's a pretty small size for Martha's Vineyard. Most of the fish you'll catch between 20 and 28 inches.
Okay.
And then once in a while, bang, you'll hit a 32-incher.
Okay. Well, I'm sure for all of you listening to this, you're hearing stripers, saltwater. By all means, try this out in freshwater. Try it. I mean, absolutely Erie. I'm thinking right now, I know of some kind of landlocked stripers, freshwater, the hybrids. Guaranteed this is going to work for those as well.
Any farm pond that your friend has on the farm with largemouth bass and crappie.
Yes. And I guess that's probably what I was getting at when I was asking you about the colors. Don't limit yourself to blue, green. Experiment with it. See, kind of play around with it. Try the bugskin in different colors and see kind of what will match the bait fish in your local area. Most importantly though, and I know this comes up in all these videos, where can people find the bugskin?
Well, as I mentioned, that I sold some of it to Mike Hogue, who has Badger Creek. Okay. And that's on the internet because I've been too busy to supply a lot of people. And now that Bill Keogh bought Hairline Dubbing, he's going to put it in his new catalog this fall.
Perfect. So
it'll be available. Any shop that wants to carry it, if you have a shop nearby, tell him to order it. He should have it, I would think, in October. But I think Mike has some of it now. He has more of the natural colors for the trout fishermen. Okay. He might not have as many of the flashes, but I think he does have some of the wild naturals.
So you don't want them looking in the phone book, finding Furimsky and calling you for it.
You know what? You know, I moved last night.
Yeah.
I live in Ocean City, New Jersey now, and I had lived in Pennsylvania near Somerset most of my life. And people are still going to think I live there and try to find me. But
well, so if you're in Ocean City, look on Craigslist. Maybe you'll see Chuck peddling some of this stuff.
Not Maryland, Ocean City, New Jersey.
Well, perfect. Well, perfect. Well, with all of that said, thank you so much, Chuck, for tying on the show. I really appreciate it. You're welcome. And thank all of you for watching this. And if you'd like to watch more videos like this, you can check out my website, which is troutandfeather.com. You can also follow Trout and Feather on Instagram, on Facebook, all of that fun stuff. That's where you go to Trout and Feather, not to Chuck. He's not there yet. But if you do have any questions related to this, or if you have any comments, by all means, please leave them down below in the comments section, or you can email me at tcammisa@gmail.com. Chuck, thank you again. I hope you check out some of the other videos in which he has tied. Lots of great patterns out there for Chuck, and as you've learned in this one, yes, he actually does tie flies, and in public too. Well, we'll see all of you next time.